Hi there, welcome to Classpad.net. Today we're going to show you how to create a homework activity, an assignment for students that will keep track of who's turned in your papers. So you'll have in front of you a paper that was created in an account for Classpad.net, so the teacher account. They've created the activity. So you'll see it's got some directions up here. When the students get the homework, the first thing they're asked to do is put their name up here at the top. Then there's some questions for them to do. There's a table. They're going to make some graphs. So it's an activity where there's places for them to answer, and this is being assigned as a homework. So the first thing, once you've created this activity that you want to have as a homework, is to go to the settings of the paper, which are the three dots up here at the right-hand corner of the paper, and go down to Share. Default's private. There's another video that talks about the difference between the URL share and the public, but we want to do URL share, which is basically you choose who gets the URL versus public. Everyone who has access to Classpad can get it. Notice when I hit that these two options, password and homework, come up. And this is what you want if you want an activity to become a homework assignment. So the first thing you're going to do is click homework and assign a date when it might be due. So maybe you want to do the next day, or maybe you want to do a few days out, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a project. I'm just going to choose the next day for now. And then you do have to assign a password, and the password is a typical 8 characters, needs a capital, needs a lowercase, needs a number. My suggestion is that if you have the same classes, so you have a couple algebra classes or geometry, is that each class gets its own code that they can use over and over again. So I have an algebra class. I'm going to use algebra class 1. Once you've set these two things up, you hit apply. And now it gets this URL, and you're going to copy this. And this URL now you can place wherever your students would get their homework assignments. So if you send them an email, send them the URL. If they have a Google Classroom or a shared website for your class, then put the URL on there. If you have a website, put the URL on there. Wherever it is that you're going to send them, an email, whatever. So as an example, I'm going to go into a Google Classroom and create just an assignment, let's just say, and I'm going to say, here's do this activity, and I'm simply going to paste that URL in. So we're going to call this homework for June 17, and I'm going to assign it, right? So the students have gone to wherever it is that they get their homework, and they're going to look at the homework, and they're going to go, oh, and they're going to click the link, and it takes them to the homework page. Notice the first thing that happens is they're asked to put in the password. So hopefully if it's, a generic password that they're using for all of their assignments from you that are on Classpad, you type that in, they say okay, it opens up the homework. And what I want to show you is once it's assigned as a homework, it gets some extra buttons down here at the bottom. So you'll see there's a submit and a save button. And the difference being, if they start working and they don't quite finish, if they hit save, it will save their work. And they can come back to it and do it again and complete it. If they hit submit, they can't go back and change anything. So those are the two differences. So I'm just going to do a little bit of the work here just to show you what happens. So they're asked to make a graph, so we're going to make a graph. Then they're asked to do a regression. So let's do a regression. And, so here's my visual, and then they're asked to, answer some questions about their graph and their data. So they might have some answers here. Time is my independent. So whatever it is they do, right? So they've completed their work. Let's pretend that this student has completed. Notice the first thing they're asked to do is to put their name up here, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's just put a last name. We're going to say our last name is Classpad. So every student's going to do their own work. So each student has their own their own paper basically, and they each put their own last name up here. So think of this as if you were in a classroom and you asked to collect their homework. That's what's going on here. Each student's going to turn in their own paper. So now, let's say the student's done. They're going to hit submit, and it's going to give them a warning. Make sure you're really done because you can't edit. If they think they need to come back and edit, they're going to want to hit save instead. But we're going to say, yes, I want to submit it. So that paper is now off, and it's not due for 1 day, so the student turns it in early. That's great. So the student is technically done now. Okay, so once the student has submitted, they get a URL. And this URL, they're going to copy and send to you. So it's like them turning in their paper. So they're going to send it back to you however it is that they do that. They've send you an email, they put it on their website, they say it on their classroom, whatever it is, however they tell you that they've done their work, they're going to send it to you. And you're just going to then be able to open up their work based on the URL that they sent you. When you go back to your work, when you go back to your papers, I just want to show you what it's doing. It's not looking at each one of them individually. What it's going to tell you is how many students have turned in the paper. So you'll notice over here, here's the homework that I assigned. And there's a 1 next to it because 1 student has turned in the work. And so if you know you have 20 students, you'll have 20, and they've all turned it in, you'll see 20 papers turned in. So that's sort of an indication that they've done it, and then you can go look at your student classroom, wherever it is that they're turning their papers in, whether it's via email or class website, those types of things. So basically you send them an URL, they do the work, they submit, they get a new URL with their paper that they send to you to show that they've completed their work.